hit record here.
This meeting is being recorded.
There we go. Why don't we get started? I see Stephen and Kayla's there. I know that if you can turn your cameras on, it's always nice. You might be driving or something crazy. I don't know. Hi, Kayla. So super. And Stephen, good Oiler fan. I like it. Nice to have a win last night, eh?
Yeah, we need a few more though.
Oh, we do. Tomorrow night we'll get another one. So great. So welcome. I made this meeting optional, so I didn't know how many people would show up. So it's nice to have the three of you here. My goal for today is just a short introduction of the course, review the first two assignments coming up, and then take questions. And if there are things you can't stand about online courses, please tell me that. Or if there's some bug that you already see in my class that I gotta fix or you got concerns about, please tell me about. So that's a goal for today. Super. Was there anything else we needed to cover that you were thinking of, or nope? Okay, well, if something comes up, by all means, let's do that. I'm going to start off. I'm just going to introduce myself, and then I'll ask you to introduce yourself briefly. And I didn't do an online course last term, so I got to remember how to share a screen. Okay, there we go. Good. So our course is CHRTC 381, and that is Teaching Religion Secondary. I've taught the course since, I think the first time I taught this was 2008, and I usually teach it a couple times a year. So you can do the math. I've taught it a number of times. But again, this is the first time I've taught it fully asynchronously online. I've taught online before, so I've learned a few things, but like any good teacher, I'm still learning. A few things about myself, just so you learn a bit about me and put a human face to this course. So my name's Matt Hoven. This is my family. We went to Kelowna this summer. Myself, my wife, Crystal, and my three kids, they go to school here in Edmonton Catholic Schools. I live on the south side of Edmonton. I was born and raised in rural Alberta, west of Sylvan Lake. And there I am a couple of years ago with my son. We were out chasing cows home from the pasture. This summer, we put together, these are a couple colleagues from Creighton University in Omaha, Nebraska. And we put together a book. It's called On the Eighth Day, A Catholic Theology of Sport. It's kind of a religious education in sport. And Jay and Max and I wrote this book. And so there they are. They received it in the mail, and they're having a beer without me since I live up way north in Edmonton. Another one is, this is a chapel at the college. I don't know if you've been to St. Joseph's College before. It's right in the heart of the U of A campus. And this is a chapel. This is where my family and I go to mass. I went to it when I was an undergrad, and I realized that people, really, of course, when it comes to religion, it's kind of taboo to talk about it publicly to begin with. And people come at faith from different perspectives and have a different history. And I think I mentioned that in the class, that just how we have different backgrounds. Probably the biggest religious influence on me was my grandmother, and she was a Protestant. And read to me lots of Bible stories. So just to get that out there, that we realize that we're all from maybe different faith perspectives, or maybe, I imagine a number of people are going to be Catholic in the course, but there's going to be people that are, really involved in it, and other people are in a different place, or, we're kind of on our journey. So there's going to be no judgment on that. Just come at it from where you're at. That's the most important thing. And I know we'll treat each other with respect and care. Here we go. I got a backyard rink. I've been doing this for a number of years. So here's my niece playing with my kids a couple of years ago. I used to play squash regularly, but I just haven't got back into it since the pandemic opened up. And then finally, I always think about sports teams, how they wear a little logo, or they kind of dedicate their season to a deceased player or something happened to. And for me, I'm dedicating it to my parents, my mom and dad. My dad's 81 and my mom's 76 and has been diagnosed with Parkinson's. So they're getting older and a little slower, but I sure do love them. And that's who I'm dedicating the course to for myself. You might want to think about that for yourself. A few more things about me. I've already mentioned I'm a farm kid turned professor. However that happened, it just kind of did. I taught grade 6 in St. Augustine's in Ponoka. Then I moved up to Fort Saskatchewan a few years later and taught out of Elk Island Catholic High School. And then I wanted to go for further studies, went down to Washington, D.C. and studied at Catholic University of America, got my doctorate, PhD in 2011, and have been at the college since, full time at least. I like the quiet, but I sure do enjoy action and movement. And I'm an extrovert, but as a professor, you're on your own and writing a lot. So it worked out well. I love to teach, but I also love to write. And then just figure it out that I've always liked to think about religious scenes, questions about God and life and who we are and all those interesting big existential life questions. And I think that's kind of what led me here. I'm inspired to do my best with what God gave me, but I'm far from knowing all the answers or having it together. Just trying to get by and doing what I can do in my life and in the path I'm on. Super. I thought now, if you wouldn't mind, if you could just say a little bit about yourself. Maybe it looks like you might be at schools. So maybe name and the school you're at or what grade you teach, or maybe Kayla, I don't know if you're at a school or maybe doing a practicum. Could we maybe just do that? Just be a little human. We'll do that. Daryl, could you go first?
Sure. I'm in my lab. I'm in Calgary. I'm started my post, but I'll put more in my post. But yeah, I recently graduated from U of A, and then I got my first job. I'm at Bishop McNally in the Catholic Board. So we're in the Northeast Calgary. Big school, like we're over capacity, like 1,600 kids this year. So, but my classes, so I'm teaching computer science and design studies, and my classes for them are 25 and under. And so, yeah, we just finished the semester yesterday. For me, my marks are due like Monday. So when I'm not doing this course, I'll be, teaching. And, once my marks are due, then it'll be prepped for the next semester, right? So I'm not sure what I'm teaching yet. So I think I might be doing computer level 30 with a couple of them, like I have to prepare them for the AP exam, but that shouldn't be a problem. I just go with the flow because computers are my thing. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Super. Well, good. When we're looking at a religious educator, there is one that dealt with the computerized world and technology. So we should make sure that you look at him up for that first big assignment. Good. Stephen or Kayla, who would like to go next?
I guess I can go. I am at St. Mary's Catholic School in Vegreville, Elk Island. This is my first year here. I was at a public school, a Viking school for 8 years. And I live in Vegreville, so decided to apply here. And I am Ukrainian Catholic and go to church regularly, all that type of stuff. I'm like a brand new teacher because I have all new courses. Yeah, it's been quite busy. I'm a little stressed about
that would be
this class as well, but I'll make it go of it.
Well, good. If you have concerns, like send me an email, right? Like if it's crunch time or, I'm trying to think of with report cards in high school, it's a little easier now, but I know you're probably starting to teach a few new courses. So reach out to me if you're like totally stressed out. We can get some wiggle room or something for sure.
Yeah,
it's always a balancing act as a prof. I always want to give students a benefit of doubt, and if they need more time to give it, but at the same time, I've had experiences where I've been too generous and it comes back to bite the student, because you still got to get the work done. And so, but it's always good to send an email. We can always go back and forth, or we can figure something out.
Yeah, I'm usually pretty good. Stress. I use stress as a good motivator.
Little anxiety cranks it out, eh?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
Sorry, one thing. I also grew up on a farm and still go home to farm, especially during harvest season.
Good. Where at? Was it out by Viking?
My parents' farm is, well, we have 2 farms, one north of Holden and one south of Holden, which is
Oh, okay.
close to Viking.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
yeah.
very cool.
that
Yeah,
keeps
yeah.
it well.
My wife's parents were from Clan Donald and just a little east of Vermilion, I guess. If you're in
Okay.
Vegreville, it'll be a little further east,
yeah.
but yeah. Excellent. Well, we'll have to talk farming sometime too.
You bet.
Yeah. All right, Kayla, sorry.
Yeah. My family farm is actually just north of Vegreville, so that's cool that you're
Nice.
there.
Look at that.
My dad grew up in Vegreville, but we're in Red Deer right now, so that's kind of where I grew up. I'm teaching at one of the newer high schools in Red Deer. I'm lucky because I got a 4th block spare this year, so I ran home. But I'm teaching Math 30-1 and Math 31, and I got the same thing next semester. So we're just kind of wrapping up our semester this
Okay.
week, and my students have got their diploma next Thursday. So
Oh, good. And okay, so it's not a lot of prep, but it's, yeah, you got a lot going on with, yeah, some heavier courses for sure.
yeah, it's nice though, because I taught the exact same load last year, so it's nice to have some of the same kind of resources that I used last year. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's nice for a first year teacher. Or are
Yeah.
you in your first year then?
This is my 2nd year.
Second year. Okay. Super.
Yeah.
Well, it's good to have you, Kayla, and the 3 of you, and to everybody else. I'm sure a few people watched the video. And I know you're writing an introduction, or Daryl mentioned it, just a brief introduction in on the post this week. Of course, it's not due till Saturday, so it's no sweat that way. Good. I am going to go back to my quick screen share here, and okay, good. Yeah, just give me a holler if something's not working or you don't see the screen. Okay. What one neat approach that I use, or I think it's neat, is the hand close and the hand open. So what this means is hand closed means hold on to what's important to you. You know, whether it be what you've learned from your grandparents, parents, whether something, an experience you've had in your life that's really important, that's been life-changing, some values, man, in this class, hold on to those. And at the same time, just to have a posture of being open to others, that we're not all going to agree and that we'll take different positions or stances or see things differently, but we be open to that. And so we have that integrity to stand for what we believe and to be open. And I say this because we know we live in such a polarized world and people fighting and social media and all this craziness. But if we just act with integrity and in our posts, and we respect people, but I hope you say what you mean, and that you allow yourself to stick out sometimes, like that a nail sticking out, because it's not about just saying all the right answers, but to be honest and to say where you're at. I think that's a great value, and that's kind of the first step in our journey, or another step in our journey. So just something to remember. I once read a book by a Harvard professor of business, and she laid out, it was a book about covering sports teams and teams that win all the time, like go on long win streaks, like football teams that win for 3 seasons straight, and then football teams that can't win for 5 seasons. And what's the difference? And she laid out these 3 points, and I thought it was a good one for any class. So the first one is responsibility, just being responsible, doing the videos, doing the readings, engaging in the posts and responses, watching other people's videos, just following the coursework and giving your best in the course. Collaboration, it'll be mostly, because we're online, it's restricted somewhat, but whether it be watching other people's videos or reading their posts, some form of dialogue. And we can see if people really want to, we could do some posts where you do a joint post with somebody. We can talk about that, but I didn't want to clutter things at the start of the course. We can just see how that things move along. And the last one is creativity. To teams that are successful, try new things. So try some new things. And for some people, we'll be looking at some things with faith and religion that might be different. Give it a shot. And however that is, however you engage it, and see where things go. So it might be a new topic you have engaged, and I hope it works for you, fits for you. This is how I've laid out the course in terms of the weighting and the grade distribution. So in a couple weeks, or in just under 2 weeks, the presentation for a historical religious educator will be due. Just a presentation, it's worth 15%. The forum posts, this is worth 15% as well. So each week, generally each week, you'll be posting a response to the coursework. And then on February 16th, you'll choose your best one up to that point and submit it. Then you'll submit another one on April 11th, which is like the end of the term. And you'll submit a second one, another one that you liked. And then I grade those according to the rubric, okay, or how I've laid it out. So that's, and the first one, I only make out a 5%, just so you kind of get a feel of my grading. And then the second one, when you have a sense of how I grade, I make it worth double. Then we do a lesson plan where you'll teach something to, maybe 3 other people in your class. You'll try to arrange your schedules. I know that's a little sketchy, but to be able to do that so you can look at the curriculum and teach something and have that experience, and then some feedback from me on it. And the last one is a take-home final exam, and there's 2 parts to it. The one is a mission statement, a summative mission statement for, well, you're all kind of newer in a school district. A school district might be looking for this from you, so that's why I included it in the assignment this year. And it's a good way to sum things up in kind of a larger idea about what is the value of a religious education for me as an educator. And then the last part is 20% just take-home exam questions that you'll answer.
Sorry, is it okay if I ask a question?
Oh, please do.
So I was just looking, I was just a little bit confused. So on the syllabus, there were a couple statements in there that had mentioned about a midterm, and then also going through the like on E-class, there's something that's not quite, like I can't open it, but it says midterm. So just to clarify, there is no midterm?
There's no midterm. There's no midterm.
Okay, cool. Okay.
When I
thank you.
first set this up in December, there was going to be a midterm. And as I thought about it more, I thought it would be more valuable to just do the forum posts well. And so that's what I went with. So if there is a mention of midterm, that's my bad. I'll just skim through everything, or if you want to tell me where, but it shouldn't be there. Yeah, there is no midterm. Thanks for the clarification. Any other questions?
Yeah, I have one for the final exam. The exam questions, is that done online? Or I thought I read somewhere that we are meeting you at your office or something. Was that?
Oh, no. Did I put, oh, you know what that is? Those are past exams that I've done. So
Okay.
I've left them up, and I have the question. So in the past, what I've done is an oral final exam. And I've done that online as well before, but I just decided that's too much. And I think it's good. I want people to do this mission statement assignment. So it won't be in person. There's no oral final exam. That's just, you can look at that and see the questions from the past, because I'll make ones that are very similar to that. Yeah, good question. Anything else? Good. Okay. All the readings and online materials are on eClass. That's where everything is, whether it be a link to a video or my own videos or the readings. So we should be good there. Grading. How do I grade? Well, first off, I don't mark on a curve. So that's the first thing students want to know. The second thing is that just A, B, C, D. Generally, if you get a grade in the 50s, that's a D. C's is 60s, B's is 70s. An A minus is 80 to 84. An A is 85 to 90. If you get over 90, man, you're walking on water. You can publish whatever you're working on. I rarely give a mark in the 90s. So students will come to me and say, I got 88. What did I do wrong? Like, why didn't I get 100? And I'm like, well, an 88 in my class is a 4. That's an A. Like, that's great. You got an 88. Be really happy with that. Okay. The way I see it is, C's are just you do the basic amount of work, you have some good understandings, great. That's in the 60s. A B would be work that goes a bit beyond, right? Exceeds those basic expectations. And then A is when there's more of that going past what the basics is. That I see that consistently throughout. So generally, I don't know if this matters. Generally, this class, it's a 300 level course. So the average is usually around a B plus, kind of a high B plus. So that would be a 3.3, 3.4 is generally just more the numbers come out. But I know that when I have teachers who, more mature students, generally they do a little better in class. Not always, but you kind of know what you want in life and where you're going. And you usually generally got it together more than a 19-year-old, but those 19-year-olds, they can have it together too. So that's something just generally about grading. Any questions about that? All right. Here's one. Let's tackle this question, and then I'll maybe look at the assignments briefly. But just to get your feedback, a thumbs up or thumbs down. What do you like in online courses and what don't you like in online courses? All right. So I'm trying to make it really simple. I'm trying not to make a bunch of clutter, trying to keep it smooth, straightforward. But is there any concerns or things that you appreciate about the course so far? Is there or just some general comments you'd like to make? Just for my benefit.
Sure. I'll just I like the self-directed learning. Like I did that for my high school and then coming back into teaching, I have managed to go back to Bishop Carroll here and do some guest teaching last year. But I like the self-directed stuff because you can, go at your own pace and like look through, assign certain things and to my time schedule and then do them. But then, just do the forum posts, like if they're due Saturday, So like I have my, it's prepped. I just haven't put it up yet because I've been busy today. But I'll put it up, tomorrow or whatever. I like that I can see all the assignments and then I can do them and look at them and assign their priority in their order, that kind of thing.
Right. Okay. Good. And I wish I had, like, some students would like everything up right away, but I haven't taught this course online before, and there's just a lot of tinkering that I have to do. So sorry to that. And also, as a teacher, you don't want students to be in totally different places, right? And there's some things we got to do together in terms of with the assignments. So bit of that, but that's good.
I like the recorded lectures. I find that those are very helpful. I think I was taking a course last semester, like one of the CHRTC courses, and it was entirely asynchronous as well, but it was pretty much just reading. There weren't any lectures. But I personally really appreciate the lectures. I like being able to hear rather than just doing the entire course reading. Mm-hmm.
Isn't that it? Yeah. I'm with you there. And I try to keep my lectures shorter, like the longest would be half an hour, because there have been horror stories over COVID. I know students that will say a prof that'll give a 3-hour lecture. Just talking. Oh man, you can't stay awake, right? You just can't. Anything for you, Stephen, or you're good?
I'm good. I'm not picky. I did not like teaching online though when we went during the pandemic.
Wasn't that it?
Being in the classroom. So
I'm kind of with you. It's tough that way. It's not really why I signed up to teach either, but it's neat. Like here I am talking with somebody, you're in 3 different parts of the province. Couldn't do this otherwise. So, but we work it out. And if you ever want to just reach out to me, put a human face and just get to know one another a bit, send me an email. I'm happy to talk about an assignment or just question you got about working in Catholic schools or whatever. Right now, I'm doing a project. I've gone around and I've interviewed chief superintendents in Alberta, Saskatchewan, in Northwest Territories, and I've asked them what are the challenges and opportunities for Catholic schools. So I've got the interviews basically done, and now we're starting to analyze the data. And so, yeah, I've done some research like that, and so I'm invested in Catholic schools, and I know some things about Christian schools too, just by being around the block. And yeah, if you just want to talk about things too, I'm always up for that. Good. Okay, so we've been at it about about half an hour. Do you want me to speak directly to the first two assignments? Like I could pull that up and show it. Would that be good? Okay. How about this? I'm going to say that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to talk about the discussion board posts. I'll just briefly go over them in 5 minutes. And if you have any questions, we can talk about it. And then I'll go over the religious ed contributor assignment. And I'll go over that in about 5 minutes and you can talk about it. So I know you got other things going on in your life. So if you need to go, just say so long, Matt, and that's fine. I won't be hurt. But why don't I go over those two assignments? And after that, if you want me to talk more about something else, I can as well. Okay. Okay, good. Let's go to the assignments then. Oh goodness, you know what? Sorry, you're just gonna have to wait for a second. I'm just gonna open the assignments first here. Okay, gotta find the one I really want. Okay, I didn't think this would be this difficult for me to get it together. I got the contribution and then the post I can't find, but you know what? Let me go. Sorry about this. I'm getting it together. It takes me a while sometimes. Okay, so I am just going to go into eClass. I'm just getting it set up. So when I do the screen share, I trust it'll all be there. Okay, sorry about that. Okay, okay, now I'm ready. Screen share. Form post assignment. Okay. Thanks for your patience. And right away, I see an error. I got 380 instead of 381. Well, that's my fault. Okay, so the way this is going to work is that I just want you to respond each week to the course material, and we'll do that by a written response. And I counted up the weeks. There's about 11 opportunities that you'll have to do a post. And I thought, you know, it's just nice as a student that you get a little wiggle room. So I'm saying that I'm asking you to post 9 times. Okay, so you can skip 2 times whenever that is, you know, in your schedule and whatever's going on. It gives you a little extra clearance at some point. So and then also within that, I'm asking you to comment on 2 other students' posts. Okay, so give a response and then give 2 posts, and then that covers you for the week. So we'll do that generally every week, and then the first post is due Thursday, the 16th, again at midnight, and that'll be marked out of 5. And the other one, I'll just double my grade. I'll kind of mark it in my head out of 5, but I'll make it out of 10. So it's worth 10%. And that's on a Tuesday, April 11th. Good. The requirements and timing, always just try to make assignments due at midnight. I think that makes it easier for people that need to burn that midnight oil. And then you're doing this week after week, except for the 2 times that you decide not to do it. Grading details. So again, it's a little confusing maybe for some, but you're posting nearly every week. And then on that February 16th, you're like, okay, that post I did 3 weeks ago, that was my best post. And you put that one in for me to grade. One thing about it is that I say that you'll lose 0.5% of your course grade per each posting miss. So I give the example that if you completed only 6 instead of 9 posts, that you would lose 1.5% of the assignment. Okay, if you earned 4 out of 5 and 8 out of 10 on the 2 graded ones, so you'd have 12 out of 10, well, you lose the 1.5%. So not a big deal if you decide you can't do it. And I'm just trying to reward those that do it. Good. You know, what is it that you're going to write on? The first couple weeks, I've tried to make it really directed. I've said, like in this week, I've said comment on one of these 2 options. One was the Didache, an early church teaching from the 2nd century, kind of a religious education, and then something by St. Augustine on how to catechize or how to educate the uninstructed into the faith. And so that's a little more directed. But what I'm looking for in these assignments is just, I want to know you engage the material. Like that's essentially it. And you've given it some thought. You could think about your own teaching as experienced educators and what's standing out to you about that post and about what about these artifacts. Other times, like in a couple of weeks, we're going to be looking at a stretch on kind of a sociology of religion. Like, where does religion sit in society today? Because I think that's important that we understand, so we know our audience in a sense. And in that context, I'll try to leave it a little more open, and you might even draw in some of your own personal experience, whatnot. But you could on these 2 documents, right? One thing about me to always go with, a good rule of thumb is that I always like depth more than breadth. I like in these posts that students drill into something. So don't offer me a summary of St. Augustine's instruction, but instead, you know, like one point in it, he speaks about, you know, one medicine isn't fit for all people and their ailments. Okay. And so maybe you play off of that and what that means in religious education and even in your own experience as a teacher. All right. And you could go into that in depth. So that's just to give that some thought. I say later on to be relevant. You know, people like telling stories. I like stories. I like a good story, but the story, make sure it has a point to it and explain that, unpack the story and explain why it's important and how it relates to the theme for the week. So that's where I underlined it being more analytical. The length, I hate to be such a tightwad on how many words and whatnot. So I'm kind of loosey-goosey here. I say, you know, 100 to 150, you need at least that many words to explain yourself. If you go above 300 words, your peers are probably going to be like, this is a way too long a post. I'm going to comment on somebody else's. And so just to be thinking about that. So I think this week I even said, you know, aim for 250 in there, but you know, see what works for you. And then also in your responses, the responses shouldn't, you know, if you're given a response, if the post is 250 and you're given a response of 300, you're probably out of touch, right? So usually the responses are shorter, but I don't want to dictate how long those are. They can be questions to the person. They can be a statement. They can be relating a story to them, affirming them, even challenging them a little bit respectfully. That's cool. The style, because it's a discussion board, it's a forum, it doesn't have to be super formal. You can use personal pronouns. You can use even slang expressions. I allow that. What else do I say? But you know, think about write in a way that's attractive to your classmates, and then just be respectful of others. I think just common decency and civility is what we want to aim for. The way I'll grade it then, I think of 2 areas, content and organization. So are you driving at a major theme that we've been talking in the course or extending it, thinking about it? Again, here I say depth is more important than breadth. You know, is it analytical? You might have a good, like that idea that one size doesn't fit all. If we say that's kind of the theme of your post, telling a story is a good idea, but it should be a launching pad to explain things more than simply you just telling a story. Trust your voice. Give voice to your voice. Put it out there and see how people react. Good. And in there, I affirm, story, theory, experience, course material. You can make that connections. The other part is about just how it's organized. I guess that it flows well. It makes sense. That it follows good grammar and sentence style. It's informal, but make it good mechanics. So it's well written. Seeks to be relevant and use it in an engaging style. And then you always want to just proofread and always eliminate unnecessary words, just to make it more concise and to the point. And then following length limits, again, I'm not going to sit there and count, but if it's obviously too long or obviously too short, that can be a strike against you. Okay, so that's kind of it, me running through this in a nutshell in a few minutes. Were there any questions or concerns? I guess we're okay. We're good with that. All right. Good. I look forward to that. One thing I do like about the posts is that it always gives the quieter student, everybody gets kind of the same amount of air and space in a classroom. So that's always a benefit. And yeah, I know it's kind of putting yourself out there, and I think people get more comfortable as the term goes along. Okay, so why don't I go to the other main assignment, the religious educator. I'll go to that one now. And if you have any questions, just stop me at any point. Good. Here we go. Let me just make that a little bigger for you. So the reason I touch on history to start the course off is that I'm trying to challenge the idea of what traditional is. I remember when I was an undergraduate, I did my first couple of years at Red Deer College, and it was just like, this is traditional education, traditional schooling, and this is progressive, right? And as I've studied more and understood, well, there's a lot of good stuff in traditional. Now, if traditional means just straight rows and everybody shutting up and listening to the teacher, and, well, of course, that's a problem. But what we want to ask ourselves is, what are some traditions in religious education that are valuable? So we're covering that in the history piece, but I think students find it particularly helpful to look at 20th century educators, because these are people that, they have more in common with us than somebody from the 2nd century, and they'll speak to more contemporary issues. And so I like to spend some time on that. Maybe there are people that stand out to you and that you'd be interested in looking at. This is how we're going to tackle it then, is that in a nutshell, you're going to do your 9 to 11 minute presentation. And then not next week, but the week after, part of it is just to watch a few other students' videos and to comment on them. That's the discussion board for the week. So you kind of get a sampling of some different people. The first thing you need to do is go to this website, Talbot School of Theology. So I'm going to scroll down in the assignment, and this is the website. And what I've done is I've listed a bunch of people who I think are interesting, and that this is the more specific URL. Good. And that you can find out about them. So I'm going to just highlight a few of them. Now, I'll just speak to this for a couple minutes in case you're interested. I got to think about this. Kayla said she's a math person. Daryl said he's a computer science person. Stephen, I never picked up, but he's a sport person, I know. Well, we'll see. Well, maybe for Stephen, I want to speak about Jerome Berryman. And Jerome Berryman, why don't we start first off with this one? I'm going to start with Maria Montessori. And Maria Montessori, the Montessori method, right? This discovery method and this more open-ended way of learning that's been quite popular since she was working in the early 20th century. What most students don't learn about when you learned about her in your education degree is that she was a Catholic and she did things about religious education. And so that's what, if you clicked on that article, it's a nice summary. So it goes through a biography of her life and then her main contributions to religious education. So it lays out some high points. A person who's gone off of her work is Jerome Berryman. And Jerome Berryman is an American, and he founded this model called godly play. That was primarily used in the elementary grades, but I've seen it used at the secondary level. And this is his thought about the power of play. And when people think of play, they think of an imaginative form, a creative form, and they don't necessarily think of that as religion. But when you think about religion, if you think about going to church on Sunday, you enter the church and it's this different world. It's kind of like I mentioned squash earlier. When I go to a squash court, we close that back door, I'm in a different world. In the same way you enter a church, it's a different world. You wear different clothing on the squash court. You maybe dress up a bit when you go to church, or the priest, pastor is in an alb and a stole. All right. And there's this play routine, play ritual going on. And godly play tries to mirror this idea of play in religion. And of course, if you don't have play in your religion, it's going to get pretty dry and stale, and you'll be a pretty sad Christian because faith is supposed to bring joy. So there's an element of play. So I can't talk, I could talk forever about it, but Jerome Berryman, if you wanted to touch on the topic of play, Francois Darcy Berube was a Quebecer who did a lot of work with the new curricular program when it came out in the 1960s and 70s. So if you want to know some history about Canada, she's a great one. Thea Bowman, who was an African-American sister and out of the US, and brought song and the arts to religious education. So it wasn't just memorization and dryness, but she had a real flair, and she also had a way of speaking to church leadership about how it was a white church and the place for African Americans in the Catholic Church specifically. Gloria Durka, a professor at Fordham University throughout the end of the 20th century, and she was a feminist and spoke a lot about the arts as well and imagination in religious education. Paulo Freire, right, raising that conscientization, a major figure in 20th century education, but he did some work in religious education, and even where his work with trying to hear marginalized voices, that had an impact on religious education. If you are interested in development, like how faith is different, if you think back to when you're 14 versus how old you are now, how you view God and faith, how you trust others is different now than it was. And this James Fowler did what was called faith development, an American trying to understand that. Thomas Groom was a major influence in religious education. Here's a couple Germans in the first half of the 20th century that did work on the Bible in religious education. Bernard Marthaler, he was my dissertation director at Catholic U in the start of the 21st century. Another one you might want to think is Parker Palmer. Parker Palmer is a significant educator in the end of the 20th century, and he was a Quaker background, and he had a lot of deep questions about what education is and what its purpose is within a Christian community and our communities at large. So great one there. If you are of Eastern Rite Christianity, Alexander Schmemann he wrote from that perspective. So if you're Ukrainian Catholic or even Orthodox Christian, you might be interested in that. Okay, how's that? I won't ramble on forever. And if you get stuck, reach out to me. There's more than these ones on the website, but I just highlighted some to give students some direction. Good. So let's say you choose somebody. Then what I'm asking you then is to put, I got to go up some. Okay. So then I'm asking for a couple more sources. All right. This Talbot School of Theology, when you click that link below to look at Parker Palmer, there will be a whole biography and some insights into what his work is. And it's really valuable. And I want you to reference it, use it. But I want you to branch out a little bit and learn something about Parker Palmer. He's written tons, so you could read lots on him. For him, it'll be easy. You can find primary sources of what he's written. And then you could also find, he's given talks online, you name it. And then there's also people who've written about Parker Palmer. So that would be kind of a secondary source. You can either find a secondary source with about Parker Palmer and his influence, and the other one would be primary when you find out something that he's written or he's given a talk. That would be a primary source. Now, I would prefer if you could find a secondary and a primary, but if you're stuck, you might just have to find primary sources of the person, okay? Because some of the people, a couple of them, they're not as significant, and you might not be able to find as much on them, or it'll be too tough. But we can help you with that. So one note here is that I'm asking that you find one academic source. So that's like an article published in an academic journal. So not like a newspaper or magazine article, but something that is scholarly. All right. That would be, say, for instance, in the Journal of Religious Education. But also you can do professional references as well. So if you find a good magazine article that the person's written or online speech, I'm good with that too. But I would like one academic source. The focus of your presentation is to be on the contribution of the person. So give a little biography, born in Atlanta, Georgia, taught here, did this, what was a major impact or change in his life, but focus on the contribution. Okay, focus on how for instance, James Fowler in his work with faith development, what that was and how it influenced religious education. Okay, now you move on to the create a slideshow presentation. So I'm looking at 9 to 11 minute oral presentation. Obviously give the educator's name, lifespan, major influences on religious education or the church. This should be the main focus. I ask a few questions there. Okay, to be thinking about that, because what we're trying to put together is what this tradition of religious education looks like. So we're hearing the different voices. So that James Fowler was born in Mississippi in some town, that doesn't really matter. Just give the basic biography so we have a sense of where they're from and what they're about. Maybe their dad was a pastor. Maybe that was a major influence on them. That might be worthy of including it, but we don't need a year-by-year breakdown of it. Now, the one wrinkle I have in here is a symbol. And some students kind of freak out at that. All it is that I want you, once you've thought about this and read things, what's a symbol? If you're to describe this person to somebody, what's a symbol that you can use? So for instance, the difference between a sign and a symbol is important to understand. A sign is just, it has one meaning. When you see a stop sign, you stop your car. But a symbol has multiple layers of meaning. So let's say you use the image of a ladder for faith development so that you climb the ladder and you understand it. But you might be able to find other reasons why a ladder is a good symbol for faith development. It might be water, might be something else you use. Or you could, I've had students before take images and they kind of combine 4 images, all right? So as long as it's clear and it captures the person, that's what I'm going for. The main idea then is that it helps students think, okay, James Fowler, oh yeah, that was a symbol of the ladder. And then they can unpack it that way. I'm trying to use it as an educational tool to put things together and to help one another. And if you're stuck on the symbol, reach out to me and I'm happy to talk about it. Okay, I think I'm just repeating myself here. I won't speak to this. And then I don't have it here, but then there's a rubric that just breaks down kind of what I'm looking for in an A paper or an A presentation, sorry. Any thoughts or questions on that? Daryl, what do you think of the idea of a symbol? Is that freaking you out, or that's cool?
No, it's cool. I haven't looked at it yet. Like I just clicked some of the links previously, but
Yeah,
Yeah, it's just I could pick anybody, and I know there's like a little Google sign up sheet, right?
yeah,
So,
there is.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, just
Yeah.
so we don't get 3 people doing Maria Montessori. Yeah.
I
Is
just
that
had a
working good?
question.
Yeah, Kayla, you bet.
Oh, sorry. I just had a question about the references. So, since you're wanting one primary and one secondary resource, are you expecting, I'm assuming, a slide at the end with references, and like what format would you like that in?
Yeah, I think I put that on the rubric.
Oh,
But
okay.
let's put that in APA. That's what I think us
Okay.
education people generally use. So APA, thank you for that. And let's, yeah, put it on the last slide.
Okay, and I maybe just missed that. And then I was also just wondering if you're, I'm trying to think back if I've ever done a slideshow or not, other than in maybe like a science lab or something. I don't know if you need in-text citations there.
Yes. Okay, so let's go with this. If you're using the text from the Talbot, you should, from the Talbot School of Theology, so the helpful biography at the start that I went over, just you should list the author's name there, but it's going to get complicated because you can't use a page number on that. All right, so let's just use for that, we'll use the author's name on that. So it was another educator that wrote that piece in the Talbot School of Theology. It's like a library, right? So let's go with that. And then for the other ones, yeah, you should be citing it, each reference in text.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes, that's what we'll go with. And of course, it's one of these scenes when it comes to referencing that it's that balancing act, right? That if it's kind of if you're taking a quote, you should list where you got it from, right? Whether it be from the Talbot School of Theology or somebody, and include a page number, right? But there's going to be general, once you get reading through and there's general stuff, I don't want a slideshow that's just chock full of 3 or 4 on every page, and don't get hypersensitive to this, right?
Okay. Okay.
The main thing is that make sure to use the in-text on the direct quotes, and then make sure to include everything on your reference list at the
Reference slide. Okay, sounds good. Thank you.
You bet. I'm gonna make a note of that, Kayla, on eClass. I'll add something about that. So thanks for that. Okay. Looks like there's no more questions about that. I've got a next optional meeting set for the start of February, and it's again just to check in, hear how students are doing, and that's going to be before you have to submit your post. So that'll be kind of the general conversation that what we'll talk about, and if there's anything about, I think that's probably our main topic for that one, and then I can talk about the lesson plan assignment, but it's kind of hard until we actually learn about the curriculum in secondary schools. And so I'll have another meeting at the start of March to help with that. And then I'll have another one at the start of April before the final exam, so we can clear up any questions or ideas, concerns. Good. Thank you for your time. Yeah, I know an hour of time is really valuable, but it's been nice to connect with you and see you virtually, and hear your concerns and learn a bit about you. And yeah, I'll see you online in the class.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Yes,
you.
thank you. If you
Have a
have a
great day.
question you need to stick around, by all means, you can stick around.
I'll see you around. Bye.
Okay,
Bye.
take care. Bye-bye. And that's it.